A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, a slave boy on a desert planet would grow up to become the most powerful Jedi who ever lived, and then betray everything, slaughter his brothers, and rule the galaxy through fear for 2 decades. His son would redeem him. His grandson would try to finish what he started. This is the complete story of the Skywalker Saga, the rise and fall of the Jedi Order, and the eternal war between light and darkness that defines the Star Wars universe. Tonight, as stars wheel overhead in our own galaxy, we journey through 9 episodes, 40 years of storytelling, and a mythology that has captivated billions across the world. We'll trace how a 1,000-generation-old republic fell into tyranny, how the Chosen One became a monster, how hope survived in rebellion, and how the Skywalker bloodline shaped galactic destiny across 3 generations. Star Wars resonates because it operates as modern mythology, tapping into archetypal patterns that Joseph Campbell identified in hero narratives across all cultures. George Lucas, inspired by Campbell's work on the monomyth, consciously crafted Star Wars as a space opera that would speak to universal human experiences. The hero's journey from innocence to knowledge, the battle between good and evil, the power of redemption, the weight of destiny, the triumph of hope against overwhelming odds. He blended influences from samurai films, World War II dogfights, Flash Gordon serials, and ancient mythology to create something that felt simultaneously futuristic and timeless, alien and deeply human. At the center of this mythology sits the Force, an energy field that binds the galaxy together, that offers power to those who can sense it, that represents the eternal conflict between light and darkness, order and chaos, selflessness and selfishness. Whether you're a devoted fan who has followed every film, series, novel, and comic across decades, or a curious listener discovering this galaxy for the first time, you're welcome on this journey through the Skywalker Saga. We'll explore the fall of the Republic, the rise of the Empire, the rebellion that challenged tyranny, and the sequel trilogy's examination of legacy and choice. We'll meet Jedi Masters and Sith Lords, smugglers and senators, droids and Wookiees, examining how their choices rippled across generations. Close your eyes if you wish, breathe deeply, and prepare to journey to that galaxy far, far away, where the Force flows through all living things, where heroes are forged in fire, where redemption remains possible even for the darkest souls, and where the light side and dark side wage eternal war for the fate of billions. Long before the Skywalker Saga began, the galaxy knew peace maintained by the Jedi Order. For over 25,000 years, the Galactic Republic united countless star systems under democratic governance. It wasn't perfect. Corruption, bureaucracy, and inequality persisted, but it provided stability, allowed commerce and culture to flourish, and prevented large-scale warfare. The Jedi Order, established on the ocean world of Ahch millennia ago, served the Republic as peacekeepers, diplomats, and guardians. The Jedi were not soldiers but monks, warrior philosophers who studied the Force and dedicated themselves to serving others rather than seeking power for themselves. The Force itself defied simple explanation. It was described as an energy field created by all living things, surrounding and penetrating everything, binding the galaxy together. Those sensitive to the Force could sense it, manipulate it, draw upon it for various abilities, enhanced reflexes, telepathy, telekinesis, precognition, healing, and in extreme cases, manipulating matter and energy at fundamental levels. But the Force had two aspects, two paths that Force sensitives could follow. The light side embodied peace, knowledge, serenity, harmony, self-sacrifice, and compassion. Those who walked the light side sought to serve the Force's will rather than impose their own desires upon it. They let go of attachments, avoided passionate extremes, and dedicated themselves to helping others without expecting reward. The dark side embodied passion, strength, power, and victory. It fed on strong emotions, anger, fear, hatred, jealousy, greed, and offered quick access to great power at the cost of corruption and eventual self-destruction. Those who embraced the dark side sought to dominate the Force, to bend reality to their will rather than flowing with it. They pursued power for its own sake, seeing the galaxy in terms of conquest and control. The dark side was seductive, offering immediate gratification and seemingly limitless power, but it consumed its practitioners, twisting them physically and psychologically until they became monsters. The Jedi taught that the dark side was easier, quicker, more seductive, but not stronger, though this claim would be tested terribly across the centuries. The Jedi Code crystallized light side philosophy into mantras repeated across generations. There is no emotion. There is peace. There is no ignorance. There is knowledge. There is no passion. There is serenity. There is no chaos. There is harmony. There is no death. There is the Force. This code guided Jedi training, reminding them to release emotion rather than being controlled by it, to seek understanding rather than clinging to certainty, to maintain inner calm despite external chaos. Critics argued the Jedi Code was too rigid, that it denied fundamental aspects of being alive, that suppressing emotion rather than mastering it created vulnerabilities. These criticisms would prove tragically valid. The Sith arose as the Jedi's dark reflection, Force users who embraced passion and power, who saw the dark side not as corruption, but as liberation. The ancient Sith Empire waged wars against the Jedi and Republic, conflicts that devastated the galaxy repeatedly over millennia. Eventually, the Sith destroyed themselves through infighting as much as Jedi opposition masters slain by apprentices, sects warring against each other, their philosophy of conquest turning inward. From these ashes, Darth Bane established the rule of two, approximately 1,000 years before the film's events. Only two Sith would exist at any time, a master to embody power, and an apprentice to crave it. This rule concentrated Sith power rather than diluting it across many practitioners, and created succession through proving strength. When the apprentice grew powerful enough to kill the master, they became the new master and took their own apprentice. For 1,000 years, the Sith waited in secret, hiding from the Jedi, quietly manipulating galactic politics, preparing for the day they would overthrow the Republic and rule openly. The Jedi believed the Sith extinct, that their ancient enemy had been destroyed forever. This complacency would prove catastrophic. During this long peace, the Jedi also developed a prophecy concerning the Chosen One, a being of tremendous Force power who would bring balance to the Force. What balance meant was debated. Did it mean destroying the Sith entirely, or achieving some equilibrium between light and dark? The prophecy remained vague, but the Jedi believed that when the Chosen One appeared, they would know. In 32 years before the Battle of Yavin, the time frame Star Wars uses as its chronological anchor, events began that would doom the Republic and the Jedi Order. The Trade Federation, a commercial entity with alarming military capability, blockaded the peaceful planet Naboo over trade route taxation disputes. This seemingly minor conflict was actually orchestrated by Darth Sidious, the Sith Master who had been manipulating galactic politics for decades while maintaining a public identity as Senator Palpatine of Naboo. Sidious intended to use the Naboo crisis to advance his political position while demonstrating Jedi ineffectiveness, beginning the long process of turning public opinion against the Order. The Jedi Council dispatched Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his Padawan learner, Obi-Wan Kenobi, to negotiate with the Trade Federation. Qui-Gon was an unconventional Jedi, more interested in following the living force's immediate will than adhering strictly to the Council's interpretations and rules. This independence made him somewhat controversial among more orthodox Jedi, but it also made him more open to possibilities they would dismiss. When the Trade Federation attempted to kill the Jedi negotiators, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan escaped to Naboo's surface, rescued Queen Amidala, and attempted to flee the planet. Their ship sustained damage during the escape, forcing an emergency landing on Tatooine, a desert world in the Outer Rim controlled by the Hutt crime syndicates rather than the Republic. On Tatooine, searching for parts to repair their ship, Qui-Gon encountered a 9-year-old slave boy named Anakin Skywalker. The boy was unusually gifted, a skilled pilot despite his age, a talented mechanic, even a pod racer who had survived races that killed most adult competitors. Qui-Gon sensed the Force extraordinarily strong in this child, stronger than he had ever felt. When he learned that Anakin's mother Shmi claimed her son had no father, that he had been conceived without male involvement, Qui-Gon began to suspect something momentous. He took a blood sample and had Obi-Wan test it for Midi-chlorians, microscopic organisms that lived symbiotically within cells and served as conduits to the Force. Those with high Midi-chlorian counts possessed greater Force sensitivity. Anakin's count exceeded 20,000 per cell, higher than any Jedi on record, higher even than Master Yoda. Qui-Gon believed Anakin was the chosen one from prophecy, conceived by the Midi-chlorians themselves to bring balance to the Force. He freed Anakin from slavery and brought him to Coruscant to present to the Jedi Council. The Council tested the boy and confirmed his extraordinary Force sensitivity, but they sensed darkness in him, fear for his mother left behind on Tatooine, attachments that the Jedi taught must be released. Master Yoda was particularly troubled. Clouded this boy's future is, fear I sense in you. The Council refused to allow Anakin's training, deeming him too old and too emotionally attached. But Qui-Gon persisted, pledging to train Anakin personally, believing the prophecy too important to ignore. Events moved quickly. Queen Amidala returned to Naboo to liberate her planet, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan accompanying her. In the palace throne room, they confronted Darth Maul, Sidious's apprentice, revealing that the Sith had returned after a 1,000-year absence. The duel that followed saw Qui-Gon cut down by Maul's double-bladed lightsaber. Obi-Wan, filled with rage and grief, defeated Maul by bisecting him. But the victory came too late. Qui-Gon, dying, made Obi-Wan promise to train Anakin, to honor his belief that the boy was the chosen one. Master Yoda reluctantly agreed, and Obi-Wan, newly promoted to Jedi Knight, took Anakin as his Padawan despite his own reservations. Meanwhile, Senator Palpatine was elected Supreme Chancellor of the Republic, his political rise beginning in earnest. The pieces were positioned for catastrophe. 10 years passed. Anakin, now 19, had become a powerful but troubled Jedi apprentice. He chafed under Obi-Wan's teaching, believing his master held him back, that he was ready for knighthood and greater responsibility. His exceptional abilities made him arrogant, and his emotional intensity, the passion that made him a formidable warrior, violated Jedi principles of emotional detachment. When assigned to protect Senator Padmé Amidala from assassination attempts, Anakin fell deeply in love with her, and she with him. This attachment was forbidden. Jedi were not supposed to form such bonds, as attachment led to fear of loss, and fear was the path to the dark side. Yoda had warned about this danger when Anakin was 9 years old, and now that danger manifested. The assassination attempts revealed a larger conspiracy. A clone army had been commissioned in secret for the Republic, grown from the genetic template of the bounty hunter Jango Fett on the ocean planet Kamino. The separatist movement, led by former Jedi Count Dooku, threatened to split thousands of systems from the Republic, and they possessed their own droid army. The Clone Wars erupted on Geonosis, with the new clone army fighting separatist droids, while Jedi led them into battle. The Jedi had become generals almost overnight, transforming from peacekeepers into warriors, compromising their principles in the name of defending the Republic. This transformation was exactly what Sidious, who secretly controlled both sides of the war, intended. During the battle, Anakin confronted Count Dooku, who was actually Darth Tyrannus, Sidious's new apprentice, after Maul's apparent death. Dooku defeated Anakin, severing his right arm. Master Yoda arrived to drive Dooku away, but the Sith Lord escaped. Anakin received a mechanical prosthetic to replace his lost arm, the first of many steps toward becoming more machine than man. Despite the Jedi Code forbidding attachment, Anakin and Padmé married in secret. They believed they could maintain their relationship hidden, while Anakin pursued his Jedi duties and Padmé continued her senatorial work. But secrets, like attachments, create vulnerabilities. The Clone Wars raged for 3 years, devastating the galaxy, killing billions, exhausting the Jedi as they fought on countless fronts. Anakin became a hero, Obi-Wan's greatest student, a general whose tactical brilliance won crucial battles, yet darkness grew within him. He had slaughtered an entire tribe of Tusken Raiders after they killed his mother, giving in to rage and hatred. He was growing closer to Chancellor Palpatine, who mentored him and praised him in ways the Jedi Council never did. Palpatine fed Anakin's ego and resentments, carefully grooming him for what was to come. By the war's 3rd year, Padmé revealed she was pregnant. Anakin should have been overjoyed, but instead he was terrified. He began having visions, prophetic nightmares, in which Padmé died in childbirth. These visions consumed him, as visions of his mother's death had years earlier visions that proved accurate. Anakin became obsessed with preventing Padmé's death, willing to do anything, sacrifice anything, to save her. This fear of loss, this inability to accept natural mortality, this desperate grasping to control the future, these were the attachments and passions the Jedi warned against, and Palpatine knew exactly how to exploit them. In a private conversation at the opera, Palpatine told Anakin the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, a Sith Lord so powerful he could manipulate the Force to create life and prevent death. Plagueis taught his apprentice everything he knew. Then, the apprentice killed him in his sleep. The story was a trap within a trap. It suggested that Sith knowledge could save Padmé, while also warning Anakin that masters and apprentices inevitably betray each other. When Anakin asked if it was possible to learn such power, Palpatine replied, "Not from a Jedi." The seed was planted. The Jedi might let Padmé die for their principles, but the Sith offered power to save her. Events accelerated toward catastrophe. The Jedi discovered that Palpatine was actually Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord who had orchestrated the Clone Wars. Master Windu led Jedi Masters to arrest the Chancellor. Anakin, torn between his loyalty to the Jedi and his desperate need to learn Plagueis' power to save Padmé, reported the discovery to Palpatine, but also followed Windu. In Palpatine's office, Windu defeated the Sith Lord, preparing to execute him, despite Jedi principles against killing prisoners. Palpatine, seemingly helpless, begged Anakin for help. In that crucial moment, Anakin made his choice. He intervened, cutting off Windu's hand. Palpatine unleashed Force lightning, hurling Windu out the window to his death. Anakin, horrified by what he had done, pledged himself to Palpatine, becoming his apprentice, Darth Vader. Palpatine promised he would teach Vader to save Padmé from death. Palpatine activated Order 66, a secret protocol implanted in the clone troopers that identified Jedi as traitors to be executed immediately. Across the galaxy, clones turned on their Jedi generals, killing them without hesitation or remorse. Thousands of Jedi died in moments, slaughtered by the soldiers they had fought beside for 3 years. Anakin led the 501st Legion in assault on the Jedi Temple, killing everyone inside, including the younglings, the children being trained as the next generation of Jedi. The boy who had been trained to protect the innocent slaughtered those most innocent and defenseless. Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, had become a monster. Palpatine sent Vader to Mustafar to eliminate the separatist leaders, tying off the war's loose ends. Obi-Wan and Yoda survived Order 66 and returned to Coruscant to discover the Jedi Temple in ruins and security footage showing Anakin's massacre. Obi-Wan, devastated, tracked Anakin to Mustafar. Padmé, pregnant and desperate, followed Obi-Wan's ship without his knowledge, hoping to reach Anakin, to bring him back from darkness. But when she confronted him, Anakin was beyond reason. He believed the Jedi were evil, that Palpatine would teach him to save her, that they would rule the galaxy together. When Obi-Wan emerged from Padmé's ship, Anakin thought she had betrayed him, bringing Obi-Wan to kill him. Consumed by dark side paranoia, Vader Force choked Padmé into unconsciousness. Obi-Wan and Anakin fought on the lava fields of Mustafar, their duel a tragic culmination of years of brotherhood. "You were my brother, Anakin," Obi-Wan cried. "I loved you." Anakin, consumed by hatred, screamed back, "I hate you." Obi-Wan gained the high ground and warned Anakin not to attack, but Vader's arrogance drove him to leap anyway. Obi-Wan struck, severing Anakin's remaining limbs. Anakin fell near the lava, his body catching fire, burning horribly. Obi-Wan, unable to deliver the killing blow to his former apprentice, took Anakin's lightsaber and left him to die. But Palpatine arrived in time. saving Vader's charred remains. Padmé was taken to a medical facility where she gave birth to twins, Luke and Leia. Before dying, the medical droids couldn't explain why she had lost the will to live. But Padmé's final words were about Anakin. "There's still good in him. I know there's still." She died believing in redemption, even for the monster her husband had become. Obi-Wan and Yoda decided to separate the twins and hide them from their father and the Emperor. Luke went to Tatooine, placed with Anakin's stepbrother, Owen Lars. Leia went to Alderaan, adopted by Senator Bail Organa. They would grow up never knowing their true heritage, never knowing each other, hidden until the Force decided it was time. Meanwhile, Palpatine encased Vader's broken body in black armor, a life support suit that would keep him alive but in constant pain. When Vader first awakened in the armor and asked about Padmé, Palpatine told him that Vader had killed her in his anger. This lie was Vader's final chain. He believed he had murdered the person he had fallen to the dark side to save, that his choices had destroyed everything he loved. The man who had been Anakin Skywalker died in that moment, replaced entirely by Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, enforcer of the new galactic empire that Palpatine declared with himself as Emperor. The Republic, which had stood for 25,000 years, ended with thunderous applause in the Senate as Palpatine announced that the Jedi had attempted a coup and would be hunted down. The dark times had begun. 19 years passed under Imperial rule. The Empire crushed resistance, enslaved entire species, built weapons of unimaginable destructive power. The Death Star, a space station the size of a small moon, could destroy entire planets with its super laser. The Jedi were hunted to near extinction, remembered only as ancient sorcerers whose religion had failed. Darth Vader served as the Emperor's iron fist, leading the hunt for surviving Jedi and crushing rebel cells wherever they appeared. He had become exactly what the Jedi Council had feared when they sensed darkness in 9-year-old Anakin, a vision made horrifically real. On Tatooine, Luke Skywalker grew up as a farm boy, dreaming of adventure among the stars, unaware of his heritage. On Alderaan, Leia Organa grew into a senator and secret rebel leader, brilliant and fierce, also unaware of her true parents. The Force moved to bring them together. When Leia's ship was captured by Vader while carrying stolen Death Star plans, she hid the plans in the droid R2-D2 and sent him to find Obi-Wan Kenobi, who had lived in exile on Tatooine for 19 years, watching over Luke from a distance. R2-D2 and protocol droid C-3PO ended up purchased by Luke's uncle, bringing Luke into contact with Obi-Wan. The old Jedi told Luke about his father lying that Vader had betrayed and murdered Anakin Skywalker, which was true from a certain point of view. Obi-Wan began training Luke in the Force, planting the seeds of what Luke might become. When they discovered the Empire had destroyed Alderaan to demonstrate the Death Star's power, killing billions, including Leia's adoptive parents, Obi-Wan knew the time for hiding had ended. They joined smuggler Han Solo and his Wookiee co-pilot Chewbacca, rescued Leia from the Death Star, and escaped. But Obi-Wan confronted Vader one final time. "If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine," Obi-Wan warned. Vader struck him down anyway, and Obi-Wan's body vanished, becoming one with the Force. But his spirit remained, able to guide Luke as a Force ghost, a technique he had learned from Qui-Gon Jinn's spirit. The Rebel Alliance, using the stolen Death Star plans, identified a weakness in the battle station. Luke, using the Force, made an impossible shot, destroying the Death Star and striking a crucial blow against the Empire. Vader survived, and now he knew the pilot who destroyed the Death Star was strong in the Force, was named Skywalker. His son had survived. 3 years later, the Empire hunted the rebels to the ice planet Hoth. Luke escaped and traveled to Dagobah, where Yoda, 900 years old and living in self-imposed exile, reluctantly agreed to complete Luke's Jedi training. "You must unlearn what you have learned," Yoda insisted, teaching Luke that the Force was not about flashy powers but about connecting to the life energy binding all things. But Luke's training was cut short when he had visions of his friends suffering. Against Yoda's and Obi-Wan's spirit's warnings, Luke left Dagobah to save them. Walking into Vader's trap on Cloud City, father and son dueled. Vader was far more powerful, more experienced. He severed Luke's right hand, the same hand Dooku had taken from Anakin decades earlier, a symbolic inheritance of pain. With Luke defeated, hanging above an abyss, Vader revealed the truth. "No, I am your father." Luke, horrified, refused to believe it. Vader offered him the chance to overthrow the Emperor together, to rule the galaxy as father and son. Luke, rather than accept, let himself fall into the abyss, choosing possible death over joining his father in darkness. He survived, rescued by his friends, but the revelation shattered his understanding of everything. The monster he had been fighting was his father. The Jedi who trained him had lied. Nothing was as simple as dark versus light, evil versus good. Another year passed. Luke returned to Dagobah, where Yoda, dying, confirmed the terrible truth and revealed another. "There is another Skywalker." Obi-Wan's spirit appeared and explained Leia was Luke's twin sister. The Force ran strong in their family, and now both children of Anakin Skywalker were positioned to determine the galaxy's fate. Luke confronted Vader again, this time on the second Death Star, orbiting Endor's forest moon. The Emperor was present, orchestrating events, turning Luke's love for his father and sister into weapons against him. Luke and Vader dueled once more, but this time Luke gained the upper hand, driven by rage when Vader threatened to corrupt Leia. Luke severed Vader's hand, matching what Vader had done to him. But in that moment of triumph, seeing his father's mechanical hand sparking and damaged, Luke looked at his own mechanical hand and recognized the path before him. He was becoming like Vader, letting anger drive him. Luke made the choice that Anakin had failed to make so many years ago. He threw down his lightsaber. "Never," he told the Emperor. "I'll never turn to the dark side. You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me." By claiming Anakin as his father rather than seeing only Darth Vader, Luke affirmed his belief in redemption, in the possibility that good remained even in the darkest soul. The Emperor, enraged, unleashed Force lightning on Luke, torturing him. Luke, helpless, called out to his father, and Anakin Skywalker, dormant for decades beneath Vader's armor and pain, finally awakened. He couldn't watch his son die. He seized the Emperor and hurled him into the Death Star's reactor shaft, destroying the Sith Lord who had manipulated him, used him, turned him into a monster. The Emperor's lightning had damaged Vader's life support, and he was dying. Luke dragged him to a shuttle, but Vader asked Luke to remove his mask so he could see his son with his own eyes, not through technological lenses. Luke removed the mask, revealing Anakin's scarred, pale face beneath. "You were right about me," Anakin told Luke. "Tell your sister. You were right." He died, and his body faded, becoming one with the Force. Anakin Skywalker redeemed at last, the Chosen One having finally brought balance by destroying the Sith. But this was not the end of the story. 30 years later, the First Order rose from the Empire's ashes, led by Supreme Leader Snoke and his apprentice Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren was Ben Solo, son of Han and Leia, grandson of Anakin Skywalker. Ben had been training as a Jedi under Luke, but darkness seduced him partly through Snoke's manipulation, partly through his own struggle with the Skywalker legacy. The night Luke sensed darkness overwhelming Ben and briefly considered killing him to prevent another Vader. Ben awakened, felt the betrayal, and chose darkness. He destroyed Luke's Jedi Academy, killed the other students, and vanished. Luke, broken by his failure, went into exile on Ash, to where the Jedi Order began, cutting himself off from the Force and waiting to die. Leia continued fighting as General of the Resistance, but her family was shattered. Meanwhile, on the desert planet Jakku, a scavenger named Rey survived alone, selling salvage for food, waiting for a family she believed would return for her. She was strong in the Force, though untrained, instinctively drawing on abilities she didn't understand. When Resistance droid BB-8 crossed her path, carrying a map to Luke Skywalker, Rey was pulled into events that would define her life. She met Finn, a former stormtrooper who had defected from the First Order, and together they escaped Jakku with Han Solo and Chewbacca. The Force awakened powerfully in Rey, and she began having visions, dreams of islands and oceans, of a past and future she couldn't comprehend. Rey journeyed to Ahch-To and found Luke, but the broken Jedi Master refused to train her, refused to return, convinced the Jedi should end because their hubris had enabled Palpatine's rise and their dogmatism had driven Anakin to darkness. The legacy of the Jedi is failure, hypocrisy, hubris, Luke declared. Yet through her persistence and the revelation that Leia had sent her, Luke eventually agreed to teach Rey 3 lessons about why the Jedi must end. But as Luke trained Rey, he sensed the same darkness in her that he had sensed in Ben. Raw power drawn from the dark side as much as light, balance between the two. Rey and Kylo Ren developed a Force bond, able to see and speak to each other across the galaxy. This connection, forged by Snoke to manipulate them, became something more a bridge between enemies, a recognition of loneliness and pain in each other. Rey believed she could turn Ben back to the light, as Luke had turned Vader. She surrendered to Kylo, bringing herself to Snoke's throne room. Snoke tortured Rey, revealing he had orchestrated her bond with Kylo to draw her out. But in a moment of decision, Kylo killed Snoke, cutting his master in half with Rey's lightsaber, telekinetically activated. Rey believed Ben had turned, but Kylo's vision was different. He wanted to let the past die, to destroy both Jedi and Sith, to rule the galaxy with Rey at his side as equals. Let the past die. Kill it, if you have to, Kylo urged. Rey refused. They fought for Luke's old lightsaber until it split in half, both falling unconscious. Luke, realizing he couldn't hide while the Resistance died, projected himself across the galaxy to Crate, where the First Order had the Resistance trapped. He confronted Kylo Ren in a battle that wasn't a battle. Luke never left Ahch-To, but used an ancient Force ability to project himself across light years. This projection gave the Resistance time to escape, while Luke Skywalker became legend one final time. The effort of such projection killed him, and Luke died as Obi-Wan had, gazing at twin suns, becoming one with the Force. His legacy secured not through violence but through sacrifice. "I will not be the last Jedi," he had promised Rey, passing the responsibility to her. The final chapter of the Skywalker Saga revealed truths that complicated everything. Emperor Palpatine had survived his fall on the second Death Star, his spirit transferring to a cloned body hidden on the Sith world, Exegol. He had been manipulating events from the shadows, controlling Snoke like a puppet, whispering to Kylo through the Force. And Rey's parentage was revealed. She was Palpatine's granddaughter, her father having been a failed Palpatine clone who escaped and hid on Jakku. Rey's power came from Palpatine's bloodline, darkness flowing through her veins. Palpatine wanted Rey to strike him down in anger, to take his throne, for all the Sith to transfer into her as their vessel. The cycle would continue, Sith to Sith, darkness to darkness, eternal. But Ben Solo, finally confronting his mother's love even as she died reaching out to him, turned back to the light. He became Ben again, not Kylo Ren. He traveled to Exegol to help Rey. Together they fought Palpatine, but the Emperor was too powerful, draining their Force energy to restore his body. Palpatine hurled Ben into an abyss, leaving only Rey. As Palpatine unleashed Force lightning powerful enough to disable the Resistance fleet in orbit, Rey crossed Luke's and Leia's lightsabers, channeling the Force, drawing on the spirits of all Jedi who had come before. "Be with me," she called, and they answered Obi-Wan, Yoda, Anakin, Luke, Qui-Gon, Mace Windu, Ahsoka, and others, their voices supporting her. "I am all the Sith," Palpatine declared, "and I am all the Jedi," Rey responded, deflecting his lightning back until it consumed him, finally destroying the Sith Lord permanently. The effort killed Rey, but Ben climbed from the abyss and found her. He gave his life force to Rey, resurrecting her through the Force at the cost of his own life. In dying, Ben Solo completed what Anakin had begun. The Skywalker bloodline ended, but they had redeemed themselves, saved the galaxy, and ensured the Sith's destruction. Rey, now alone, traveled to Tatooine and buried Luke's and Leia's lightsabers at the moisture farm where it all began. An old woman asked her name. Rey looked at the twin suns and declared, "Rey Skywalker." She chose her family, honored their legacy, became a Skywalker not by blood, but by choice. The saga ended where it began. Hope enduring, the light side victorious, and the Skywalker name living on. The Force itself defies simple understanding. It is described as an energy field created by all living things, but also as something with will, with purpose, with direction. The light side teaches letting go of attachment, of ego, of control. The dark side teaches grasping for power, for control, for immortality. Both offer power, but the dark side corrupts, twists, eventually destroys its practitioners. The Jedi's great failure was becoming dogmatic, suppressing emotion rather than mastering it, forbidding attachment so strictly that their members couldn't handle love when it emerged. Anakin fell partly because Jedi training gave him no tools to process his love for Padmé except denial. The Sith's philosophy: peace is a lie. There is only passion. And Diode, there is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall free me is seductive but self-destructive. Masters and apprentices betray each other. Power corrupts. Victory proves temporary. The chains aren't broken but multiplied as darkness consumes everything the Sith once valued. Yet the Sith aren't wrong that the Jedi's emotional suppression creates vulnerabilities. Balance might require integrating the lessons of both, acknowledging passion while not being consumed by it, accepting attachment while not becoming enslaved to fear of loss. The Skywalker Saga teaches that redemption remains possible even for the darkest souls. Anakin committed genocide, slaughtered children, ruled through terror for decades. Yet Luke's belief in him, refusal to give up on him, awakened the good that Padmé insisted remained. Ben Solo killed his father, helped destroy entire star systems, yet his mother's love and Rey's compassion reached him. The Force connects all living things, and that connection means we're never beyond redemption, never too far gone to return. This is Star Wars' most powerful and hopeful message, that choices matter, that we can always choose differently, that even decades of darkness can be overcome by one choice to do right. Legacy shapes us but doesn't determine us. Luke and Leia were children of Darth Vader yet became heroes. Ben was grandson of Vader and son of heroes, yet fell to darkness then returned to light. Rey was Palpatine's granddaughter yet chose to be a Jedi, to honor the Skywalkers. We inherit bloodlines, powers, tendencies, but our choices define us more than our inheritance. This tension between destiny and choice runs through all 9 films. Prophecy said Anakin was the chosen one, yet he chose darkness. Prophecy suggested Luke would save him, yet Luke chose to risk everything on that belief. Legacy suggested Ben would finish what Vader started, yet Ben chose redemption. Star Wars has become modern mythology, stories told and retold, embedded in global culture, shaping how generations think about good and evil, heroism and redemption, hope and despair. The saga resonates because it speaks to universal human experiences through the lens of space fantasy. We all face temptation toward darkness, anger, fear, hatred, and we all must choose whether to give in or resist. We all inherit legacies we didn't choose, and we all must decide what to do with that inheritance. We all wonder whether one person can make a difference against overwhelming evil, and Star Wars insists yes, they can. That hope survives even in darkest times, that the light side ultimately prevails. If you found value in this journey through a galaxy far, far away, consider subscribing for more explorations of the stories that shape our imaginations. Leave a like if the Skywalker Saga resonated with you, and share your thoughts. Which character's journey touched you most? Do you prefer original trilogy, prequels, or sequels? What does balance in the Force mean to you? May the Force be with you, always, as you navigate your own journey between light and darkness, as you make choices that define who you become, as you carry forward the legacy of those who came before, while creating your own path forward. For now, rest. Let the epic scope of galactic conflict soften into dreams. Let lightsabers and star destroyers, Jedi and Sith, fade into the peaceful darkness behind closed eyes. You've witnessed empires rise and fall, heroes born and redeemed, darkness challenged by light across 3 generations. You've walked with Skywalkers from Tatooine's twin suns to Exegol's Sith throne, from innocence through corruption to ultimate redemption. The saga is complete, yet it continues in imaginations across the world, in new stories told, in lessons learned and passed forward. Sleep peacefully, fellow traveler through the stars. May your dreams carry you to that galaxy far, far away, where hope endures against impossible odds, where redemption remains possible for even the darkest souls, where the Force binds all living things in connections deeper than we can see. May you wake tomorrow with renewed sense that your choices matter, that legacies can be transformed, that darkness never wins as long as someone carries light forward. The Force will be with you, always. Good night, and may your journey through the stars continue in dreams where anything is possible and hope never dies.